Hi all, this is Allmighty and welcome to this video. In this video we are going to talk about pawn endgames. Again, pawn endgames where we have one pawn on the white side and one pawn on the black side. But in this case, different from the previous video, the pawns will be on the same line and on the neighboring lines. So in the next couple of positions there will be on the same line, and there I will be covering some positions where they are on the neighboring lines. But okay. Let's get back to this position. But first, okay, I just want to get something out of the way. First, maybe there will be some videos, more videos about pawn endgames, but later on we will cover also knight, bishop, rook, and queen endgames as well. But okay, to start with this is a situation, one of the most common situations in the pawn endgame where black and white king are actually already protecting the pawns. And in this situation here, white is first to move, and what he wants to do essentially is bring the black king into the opposition. Now in this situation, because our white pawn is defending f5, black king cannot come closer. He needs to go around if he wants to attack our pawn, but in that case we will just capture the pawn and win the game. Instead of that, he is faced with the sad truth that he needs to take a draw at least, so he goes king to f7. And we can now capture the pawn, but he keeps the opposition, and this is a drawn endgame. Like you've seen in that video with the key squares, when we push the pawn now, he just keeps the opposition, and white cannot win this endgame. So it results in a stalemate. But in this next position, same situation, but in this case, the pawns are moved. So previously they were on e4 and e5, and now they are on e5 and e6. When we play the same series of moves, now we can capture the pawn. Same again. Black wants to go into the opposition, but now when we move, we have that one necessary tempo, which is needed essentially for black to go out, and we can promote to a queen and win this endgame. Okay, just to go back to initial position, just to show you there aren't any better moves for black to do here. So essentially, okay, sorry for that. When white plays king to d7, he can play something else, but essentially all the moves lead to the same situation. So we just occupy the key square now. This is like the only move which brings the white in opposition, and we cannot occupy the key square right away. All the other moves give us that option, and that's an even better win for white. Okay, now that we covered that, let's move on to the next position. In this position, we have a situation where black king and white king aren't defending the pawns right away. And maybe right away you would think, so white is first to move, let's attack the black pawn and also let's defend our pawn. Sounds like a reasonable move, but actually black can do the same in this position, and now we are in a zugzwang. Actually, whichever move we do now, we are in the worst position, because of course, like in the previous situation, now black is defending this square, which is actually the only square where we can still defend our pawn, and we need to move somewhere else. Probably king c4 best move, and when he takes the pawn, he will keep us in the opposition and essentially win this endgame. Okay, now that I've shown you that, let's just go back and show you the best move. The best move here is actually king to d6. And why is that? I mean, we are attacking black's pawn, but also we are keeping this square as a necessary tempo maybe in the future. Now black has actually only one option, that is to defend the pawn, because if he moves somewhere else we will just capture the pawn, and now we have king to d5, and now the tables have reversed and we are in a better situation, and essentially the same thing happens. Keep the black king in the opposition, and after that just easily win this endgame. Promote to a queen, and you all know how to checkmate with the queen. Okay, so now that we covered a couple of positions with the pawns on the same line, let's move on to the position where the pawns are on the neighboring lines. So now in this situation, okay, it just seems that black is better here, right? At first glance, he is closer to the white pawn. White king cannot defend it because if he goes like this, yeah, black king will just pick it up. And even if he keeps opposition like this, black has c6. You don't want to play c5. So if you play c5, this is drawn endgame. But if you play c6, sorry for that. Okay, plays here c6, and now when he plays king to c3, then black creates an opposition on the white king when he moves. Yeah, this is a winning endgame for black. Okay, but I didn't want to show you this position just to see, okay, black is better and he can easily win. There is actually a pretty good motive in this endgames, and the motive which shows you a very good lesson in chess. You should always think about all the moves possible. For example, here the best move is d6. And why is that? Because in this situation, there are a couple of options for black. Okay, of course he can bring the king closer, but that doesn't accomplish anything because it's a drawn endgame. Other options are, okay, he can move the pawn, c6 or c5, but now he loses the game because this is a queen much sooner than for the black pawn. And one final is to capture, but that is the whole point of this move, because now king to b3, we create an opposition on the black king and we just follow him around. When he moves, yeah, essentially he has to push the pawn, and this is a drawn endgame. The same goes in the next position. Yeah, always think about all the moves, because that one move that maybe you didn't think about, maybe it will surprise you, bring you a victory or bring you a drawn endgame. So e5, the same situation would be if he pushes, we just push and we are faster. If he brings the king, we just capture. So he captures, and again opposition, and he pushes the pawn, drawn endgame. For the last section, I just want to show you this two interesting positions. Let's start with this one. So in a sense, I just want to remind you, like in the previous video, that the movement of your king is very important, because now, depending on how you move your king with white, you can either win or draw this endgame. And why is that? Let's just look at the position. What do we have here? We have a border pawn or a rook pawn, and essentially if you have that pawn, it's very likely that it would be a drawn endgame. But here white king can actually move in such a way that he can prevent this. Black wants to do one thing. There is no way he can actually come closer to the white pawn and capture it before white king comes there first. So his main idea is to occupy c7 and c8 to block white king inside, or to go in front of the pawn so he can draw the endgame. So okay, and let me just show you that. If we would just move towards the pawn and try to capture it, yeah, king to d6, capture the pawn, king c7, drawn endgame. Okay, but this is like the first case, and we don't want to do that with white, because we have an option with the movement of our king, block off the black king, and we play it like this, king to e6. And now if black wants to come to the c7 square, he plays king to c3, but we come to d5 and we block him off. It is okay for us, we already moved in this direction, but with the movement of the king, we blocked off the black king, and the path to this pawn like this, it would be the same as we would go like this. So nothing has changed for white, but for black it's a big difference, because now what are the options? He can play king to b4, try to come closer to this pawn, or he can play maybe king to d3. Let's see. So if king to b4, king c6, king a5, defend the pawn. He can only go here. We capture the pawn, he comes here, and this is winning for white. Okay, that is great. In this situation, what if he plays this? We just go here, come like this, c5, and as you can see in the first situation, already here black could have played king to d6, but he lost one tempo because he had to move from c3 to d3. And now is our chance, because yeah, it essentially ends up the same. This is a win in endgame for white. And always remember, the movement of your king is very important in this endgame, especially if there is the same amount of move where white king and black king can actually come to the critical position. Okay, and now let me just show you one final position here. Is it the same like in the previous position? I mean, black is obviously closer to the white pawn and his pawn, but actually white can draw this, and with a very, very strange move. But let me just first show you something that probably most of you would play if you didn't know about this endgame. So king to c8. Let's just go closer to this pawn and try to capture it. But black has another idea. He doesn't want to go right away to this pawn. He will just create an opposition on you. And if you go like this, he will just create an opposition until he comes to f3. And okay, now already he can play king to f4. And why is that? Because in this situation, he is, let's say, controlling first this square, and he can come closer to this pawn, and white is unfortunately too slow. So in this case here, like in the previous position, if we just follow the king, yeah, there is no time for white to actually manage to come to the pawn. Yeah, and this is a winning endgame. Also, I want to show you one other example. So previously I noticed that I didn't cover this case. So if let's say now king c5, if we capture the pawn, if white wants to attack right away the pawn, we just play king to g2 in this case, not king to g1, because then we would lose the pawn. Okay, and yeah, this is again winning the endgame for black, but just wanted to show you that. And for the end, of course, yeah, so this is the main idea. You want to block off the king in such a way that you can bring your king closer and move it faster. But in the initial position, white should play some other move. So other move than king to c1 is king to c8 is king to a8. Probably one of the strangest moves you've seen in these kinds of endgames, and it actually makes sense. Why is that? Because now when black tries to go for the pawn, maybe it seems like white has lost tempo here, but he doesn't want to go from this side. So come from this side, because we have seen that black can easily cut him off with his king. He should rather go and try and go from this side, something like this. Maybe not the same set of moves, but essentially go from this side, because you want to go to f7 closer and sooner. So okay, if black would just go now towards this pawn, okay, sorry for that, king to c6, let's just go over it quickly. Now you can see that white manages to draw this endgame, because as you already seen, now we keep him in the corner, and if he pushes the pawn, this is a stalemate. But let's go back. So essentially, if king to a8, he plays king to a6, we can play king to b8, and essentially the same position. If he wants to repeat the moves, that is fine by us. If he wants to play something else, also fine by us. Yeah, essentially king to c6, we play king to a7, and we go from the other side, and essentially we can draw this endgame. So okay, this is the final position that I wanted to show you. Sometimes this is a video where I could have shown you that sometimes the strangest moves can actually bring the winning chance for the side which has the pawn, or actually draw the endgame, which seemed lost at first. So okay, this is the end. I would like to thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.